This was a Brain Freeze podcast.
August 2008. Warner Brothers offers filmmaker Christopher Nolan a new job a mere month following the release of The Dark Knight, which positioned Batman as a realistic character in a naturalistic world. The studio hoped to capitalize on the critical acclaim and box office success of the film, and have Nolan produce a similarly grounded take for the other member of DC's world's finest, Superman. The fabled hero had long since faded from cinematic glory, especially after the disappointment of 2006's Superman Returns, but with Nolan at the helm, hopes were placed on the Man of Steel script penned by David S. Goyer and directed by Zack Snyder. Though commercially successful, the film was met with mixed reviews, criticizing its lack of pace and its grim tonality. These criticisms plagued the film's sequels and offshoots, leading to studio intervention that rushed shooting schedules and handicapped post-production on Suicide Squad and Justice League, the latter of which was largely reshot and recut following Snyder's departure from the project. But the cataclysmic failure of Justice League precipitated a sort of cinematic rebirth, with films like Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey, and even the pre-Justice League Wonder Woman breathing unique tone, colorful costumes, and a joie de vivre of comic accuracy back into DC's lineup of superhero films. And now, 12 years after Christopher Nolan was tasked with producing its first film, the DC Extended Universe has almost completely abandoned the bleak, brutal naturalism for which he was originally awarded the job. This week on Hero Boys, the DCEU.
Hero Boys. Hero Boys. Hero Boys. Hero Boys.
Welcome to Hero Boys, the show about superheroes. I'm your host, Reid Vanier. This week's roast, brought to you by Bad Jokelman. Allow me to introduce my co-host, Lex Loser, the Kaboom Man, Richard Eden.
The Kaboom Man, you fucking dork.
What?
Also,
You're the Kaboom Man. Kaboom, the classic comic book sound effect.
You're such a fucking dork. Also, Lex Loser, that's terrible.
Listen, it's the roast segment. The roast segment. We do this every week.
Is that supposed to mean that I'm both an evil genius but also a loser?
I think he's saying that you're never going to be good enough and you'll know it.
Well, you didn't have to tell me that.
How you doing?
Oh, I don't know, man. It's just
You seem very relaxed.
Yeah, it's nice to just be sitting here watching you be stupid like that intro.
Listen, I got a bit of a bone to pick. I don't know how deep we should go into this.
Oh, please let me.
Of course, listeners at home know that the Kaboom Man is frequently late.
The Kaboom Man,
and I was asked today to arrive promptly at 5:30 to record, and we are a cool almost hour after that now. And we're recording. You were late in your own home. I just want to point that out to everyone.
I think
you were busy playing with your two dogs, Lucy and Earl, of course, the two dogs that you love.
I think you were just early.
But
I got stuff going on. I don't worry about it.
Yeah. My problem was that I was invited at a specific time, and then it took so long to,
like a good schoolboy. Of course, you were here. Sorry, I shouldn't probably talk about schoolboys. It might get you too excited.
Easy now.
Howdy ho to Boom Nation. Here's a little drop.
I'm never going to get over that. Y'all just left me hanging with hashtag Jay Garrick and Zaddy. Now I look like a thirsty bitch.
Well, you always were.
Well, yeah. Listen, Zaddy put on that shirt with a lightning bolt on it.
I got a little electric in my pants.
Got that fucking helmet on. Got that dome on his dome. Give him some dome. Got that dome on his dome. Give him some dome. Got that dome on his dome. Give him some dome. Zaddy put on that shirt with a lightning bolt on it.
I got a little electric in my pants.
Got that fucking helmet on. Got that dome on his dome. Give him some dome.
It was long. Jeez.
Yeah, that was
put a limitation on these things.
That was a big one.
Wow.
of course, referencing a previous conversation about Big Zaddy, Jay Garrick.
Yeah, you're hot for that, Jay Garrick.
I would just say that I appreciate
His hog.
I would like him to speed force his way into my heart.
Jeez, force?
That's obviously not the verbiage I wanted to use.
It's a little. Of course, you. That's the first thing that you go to is using force.
That was
It's the only way those kids will get in that kit van. Am I right?
Come on,
using the speed force.
Listen. I mean, that's what you would call a van with no windows. Oh my God! We're a little delirious. We're in Corona fever. Well, we don't have the fever.
I was just
fever.
Let's be clear. We're especially because we're in the same room. We should probably be very clear.
No fever, but we're deep into Corona territory now.
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Oh, big surprise!
What have you been doing to keep the demons at bay?
Hey, don't talk about demons. That's scary.
I mean, not just the demons that constantly plague us. Not
the ones that make us want to end ourselves. But.
No, not that. But how do you deal with the cabin fever?
Oh, okay, good. I'm still freaked out because you said demons, and I'm worried you're going to talk about the devil.
I also keep saying fever. I should.
Yeah,
maybe watch out for that.
Yeah, especially that window's cracked open. I don't want anybody to hear.
Fever.
Oh no, the police are here. The Canadian fever police. Yeah.
That's why we never have too many crazy parties.
Because of the fever police.
Listen, I'm clearly not a party expert.
Oh yeah, no, you're around lots of other people when you go to bed at 7 a.m.
No, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
What have you been doing to pass the time while you're stuck at home and making people show up too early to your house?
Maybe you shouldn't just show up so early for everything, and then we'd meet in the middle. Then nobody was wrong. So I recently purchased Animal Crossing on the Nintendo Switch.
I've seen a lot about this. I haven't played it myself.
It's a lot of fun. I think it's the ideal game considering what's going on in the world.
Right.
Because it's all about positivity.
Okay.
You get to go on an island vacation. And there's not a lot of people on the island.
Now, are you playing cooperatively? Because you can play with others.
Cooperatively?
Correct?
Can you speak like a human being? Do you play cooperatively?
What word would you like me to use? Pick a word, and I'll use that word.
I'm going to play with my friends.
You're going to make fun of the way that I'm using language to tell a story, to paint with words, because it's an audio medium.
Just fucking, I don't know, talk like a human being.
Do you play with someone else online? I don't sound like a plebeian.
Oh, you mean co-op?
I wish that the quarantine rules had struck us so severely that we didn't have to be in the same room for you to tell that.
Why do you have to put so much emphasis on teen every time you say quarantine?
Tell me about Animal Crossing.
No, you can visit other people's islands, which I have not participated in yet because I haven't figured that tool out. Also, we have a limited amount of internet we can use here.
That's true.
Although
no longer.
Yeah, fucking Jesus Christ. Yes, we can now use as much internet as we want because it's fucking.
Looking for the word.
No, I'll get there. There you can go over and it'll be okay.
Overage?
Yeah.
See this. You make fun of me for my use of specific language when describing something, and then
because I want to talk like a human being. Just
you want to talk like a human being who refuses to visit other human beings' virtual islands in a game space.
Yeah, it's about fun.
You're also quarantined in game.
You get to have friends in it, and they're all on your island, and you start with a tent, and you can slowly build up to like a house. But the game's all about like getting fruit from trees. And selling like wood and fruit and stuff and you get to go fishing.
Right.
I spent a lot of time fishing last night.
I always thought that Animal Crossing could use like a Sid Meier's Civilization style tech tree.
Oh my
God. So that at a certain point, your island becomes advanced enough that perhaps you can explore space, or perhaps you reject the concept of God.
Do you have to make everything unfun?
What do you mean? That sounds.
That's
that
how you
sounds
have
like the
fun.
perfect
Yeah,
game
yeah.
to me.
You need strategy and particular timing, and it's all about my electronic friends and
Listen, I just want to
plug into the computer
I
and
want to
become one with it.
simulate within 40 minutes the entire span of human achievement. I don't have time to just sit and wait for it to happen.
Fucking robot. No, you get to. I spent a lot of time fishing. I spent a lot of time. It's kind of like Minecraft, where you can sort of like get elements and then build other things. So I built an axe, and then I used that axe to cut trees down and get wood from them, and then use that wood to build like a couch and like a tiki torch in the front of my tent.
Oh no!
Look, it's not like that kind of tiki torch.
Not everyone's welcome on your island.
No. Look, I let the
Really laying your cards on the table in Animal Crossing.
look, I let those weird sheep people on there.
Sorry, are there sheep people?
All the people
I
on
didn't
the
mean to sound
island.
too interested.
They're. I'm sorry. Could they? I don't know. Let's say consent. They're like animals that can like talk and walk around.
Oh, I see. They're
All the
just
like characters are like
sentient sheep.
sentient, like not just sheep, but
So
yeah.
presumably you can't harvest them for their
Meat?
milk or meat.
No.
Right.
So far, the only thing that I've been able to eat.
That would be an uncomfortable experience to have to. That's very much reminiscent of Douglas Adams.
Hey, I mean, I don't know how long you're going to be on that island. Food might become scarce at some point.
The restaurant at the end of the universe, where the cow comes out from the back and asks which portion you want to sample for your meal.
I'm sorry, the cow samples from itself?
Yeah, in Douglas Adams, in the restaurant at the end of the universe.
I have the book right there, but no.
At that restaurant, there's a cow in the back, and he comes out and he says, like, "Which cut do you want?" And then, yeah.
At what point is
it's a very grim interaction that really makes you confront your consumption of meat.
Does the cow like already have pieces missing from it, or is it like
No? I think then it goes to the back to get killed.
Oh, okay. Well, I just am wondering, like, does it slowly get eaten away until it can't function any longer?
I mean, it's been a while since I've read the book, but my memory of it is pretty rosy. Although that book does seem to have a lot of animal cruelty across that whole series. I
remember
very famously the whale that crashes to the planet's surface.
Yeah, that whale had a lot of thoughts on the way down.
Yeah, as did the potted plant that fell alongside
I
it.
was quite surprised that it was a potted plant.
Yes, yeah. Well, aren't we all? I mean, that's the dream. You wake up, you realize you're a plant, and then boom, impact crater.
Yeah, are we gonna get the high doctor?
No, that
Potted plant.
no, I won't be a pot plant, just a potted plant.
Yeah, God, could you just be fun from like 5 seconds?
That was fun. Wordplay is fun. This is an audio medium.
They are, but not the way you do it.
Have fun with words,
but not the way you do it.
My goodness,
everything is just such a chore.
I mean, we're stuck inside. You've been playing Animal Crossing. I have been reading.
Displeasing your wife.
Well, nothing new there.
Yeah.
I have been reading some old comic books from my collection.
I mean, everything you do is reading, but yeah.
Oh, well, very clever. Very nice.
Yeah. See, like I can play wordplay too, and it's fun. See, it's not about the wordplay.
You're saying it sarcastically, but I think you would have fun if you just came and enjoyed it.
What, reading?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know how to read.
Of course. I'm so sorry to bring it up.
Yeah,
I know
it's a painful subject for
touchy
me.
subject. Don't know why I said touchy subject.
That's got it. You can't help yourself today.
This is the episode of Freudian
It
slips.
just depends how young that subject is.
Oh, no. No, I've been reading old comic books of mine. I particularly went back and I've been reading first few issues of the Spectre series where Hal Jordan was the Spectre.
Oh.
It's been a lot of fun to revisit that. That's some comics from the 90s. A little bit
God, I don't like to
vintage.
think that those are vintage. That makes me sick to my stomach.
Right. The idea that
we're old and
that time
and-
is progressing and we are aging alongside it.
Yeah, and that society no longer wants us, and we're just teetering on the wastebasket of society.
Well, listen, if we didn't want to know that society didn't want us, we shouldn't have done a podcast.
Yeah, I mean now we've proven it.
That gives them the perfect
We-
avenue to say that they don't want us.
We literally can see the numbers.
No, but I've been reading that, and actually I've been in 0 Hour. I guess I've been on a '90s reading kick. I got some issues of Wildcats, the original Image.
You also put some gloves on and tried to
series.
murder your wife. Just on a '90s kick lately.
Are you making a reference that I, like O.J. Simpson, was attempting to murder my wife?
Allegedly.
I guess I shouldn't say attempting because O.J. definitely did it.
Allegedly.
Well, I mean, that people are sort of split down the middle. So hit us up. Either hashtag oh yay if you think he did it, or hashtag no Jay.
If he
didn't.
No, that's a good one. Yeah.
So hit us up with those hashtags. Let us know where you stand on a 20-year-old murder investigation.
Even if it doesn't fit, you generally don't acquit, do you?
Well, none of my clothes fit.
It definitely.
I've had to acquit my entire closet because none of them fit.
We could just acquit this life.
Oh, I mean, listen, that's the dream.
Yeah.
Perhaps we should talk about what we are reviewing this week. We've gone through a bunch of sort of classic pieces of DC media over the course of this show. This week, we're getting to what I believe to be the big one, the one that probably the most people have asked us about.
Talking about yourself again, the big one, yeah.
Listen, I'm a little thicker around the middle than I would prefer to be. I wasn't always like this, but we are in. I've got quarantine bod. I will admit it. I have a little bit of quarantine bod.
Is that what you order when you go to the A&W? Is a
quarantine burger?
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes in saran wrap. And so do I.
With a couple of Coronas on the side, am I right?
Oh, no. This week, the series that we are reviewing is the DCEU, the DC Extended Universe. This is the big current run of
all the new DC movies.
Of films, all of the recent DC movies, exactly. Going all the way back to 2013. So we've gotten so many requests for this that we just couldn't deny it anymore. People were starting arguments online, but of course, as you know, the hero boys can't be fought. But we came to this conclusion by ourselves to do this series. So I think maybe we should get it. Is this... We revisited these movies before doing this episode. Was this your first time sampling these movies?
No. I mean, I've been watching these movies for years. So it was nice to kind of rewatch them and look through them again and from a new perspective, I think. But
Sorry, you got a new perspective?
Well, I mean, no.
Well, okay, great. I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah. But putting them all together is at least has a different outcome.
Okay, right. Well, why don't we start with some of the sort of classic initial offerings of the DCEU? Obviously, we started this whole thing off with Man of Steel. That's from 2013, starring Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Michael Shannon, directed by Zack Snyder, screenplay by David S. Goyer. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what you thought about Man of Steel?
I don't know. I mean, I've spoken about this before, but I just think that for me, it's not what I'm looking for from like a superhero movie. I think that, or at least from like a Superman movie, from what I like from Superman in general, I think typically isn't the sort of like. It wasn't like the introspectiveness about it. It felt like it was still very like punchy, and it's not really what I like from Superman.
Really?
Yeah.
So much of this movie is him like brooding on the East Coast.
Yeah, but you don't get to hear what he's thinking about. It's a lot of him just like standing in places.
Right.
So it's like I like the being able to like read or like.
Right. You're saying the translation from a comic where you can read someone's interior monologue doesn't necessarily apply so well to a visual medium like a movie.
Yeah. I God damn it, you ruin everything. I wanted sort of, I want to know what he's thinking, and I feel like it's a lot of him just like looking out into nothingness, thinking like I'm thinking by a cliff and I'm thinking on a farm, but you don't know what he's thinking, and
Now, I have to say, when we do get to action portions of this movie, I was very satisfied with the way they depicted his super strength. I think a lot of movies shy away from the idea of collateral damage. And,
this movie...
and his fight with General Zod through Metropolis obviously has a lot of collateral damage. Not just the result of the world engine, of course, and its gravitational beam, but we're also talking about the punches, the reverberation, the shattering of glass, buildings coming down thanks to heat vision. I thought this movie did a great job of that.
I think that there was a lot of like people dying and stuff, which was cool.
Insightful analysis as always. Thank you.
I don't know. I think that I don't know. Maybe it's sky fighting I don't like. I don't know. It just was. It was hard to explain, but just something didn't resonate with me. It felt like they were just trying to make the Dark Knights come before this or after this.
Dark Knight Rises was the year before.
Yeah. So it feels like they were trying to like Dark Knight Rises this movie, like they were trying to make this movie like those movies.
Well, yes, of course. And you know, if as you may have picked up from my opening monologue, this film was produced in part at least by Christopher Nolan, who they had hired after The Dark Knight came out to help bring Superman to the screen. So there's definitely some of his signature aesthetic is in there.
Yeah, and I just don't feel like that works for Superman. I feel like that's a very like Superman should be all like it's a lot of like I want the introspectiveness, but I also want the like super bright, shiny sort of thing that matches with Superman. And I felt like this was too like gritty and dark for something that like for a character that I don't really like when they act that way. I think what Superman is great is he's so like unbelievably good in spite of darkness around him, and so I want that sort of aesthetic to sort of be matching, and I just didn't like the sort of matching of those two things.
I think that's a fair analysis. Man of Steel definitely for me it's got a lot of high points. I can understand the possible complaints with that movie, and certainly in terms of its tone or its pacing. To me, Michael Shannon as General Zod, incredible villain, probably one of the best that they've had in any of these movies. But I can understand a general sort of tepid reception to this sort of movie. Now, we followed that up with the logical next step, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, starring Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Jesse Eisenberg, Amy Adams, directed by Zack Snyder, screenplay by Chris Terrio and David S. Goyer.
Yeah, that was... Yeah.
That's the information. People want to know the information. They're listening to us to help them decide what they want to watch.
People don't have a fucking computer or something. They can't. They have to like.
We're a podcast. If people just Googled things, then they wouldn't listen to us at all.
Idiots. They just want to hear us like. They just want to hear us talk about.
Don't go bashing our devoted listeners. They're the ones keeping us in the money.
Oh yeah, because we're making so much money from this. This is like no, I mean they can whatever. I think I liked this movie more, but mostly because of it had Batman.
Batfleck, of course.
Yeah, who's a great Batman.
I think he's an incredible Batman.
He's from a great part of the United States.
I mean, come on now. We know what you're to say here.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's from
Batfleck
Boston.
is not, as you would have us believe, a Quincy boy.
He's from Boston though.
Yeah. How do you like these batarangs?
Dude, you know like it's his bat car.
Yeah, he I mean, in the opening sequence of this movie, Bruce Wayne would indeed have difficulty finding a spot to park his car.
Yeah.
Because he's driving through the streets of Metropolis, reenacting the end sequence from Man of Steel. We're seeing it from a human perspective. Very, very interesting take. Interesting way to open the movie. But in general, I would like to hear what you think of Batfleck. Me personally, I thought he did a great job of balancing the two parts of that character, the Bruce Wayne part and the Batman.
He's good. He's, I feel like he's like a Batman, like a real Batman would be like a bigger dude. I think he'd be a big guy.
Oh yeah, this is a beefy Batman.
Yeah, and I feel like the real Batman would be a bigger Batman, or he would be like a real skinny guy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we definitely got...
it's like a Batman that I feel like I could see myself playing.
We have a burly, older Batman. I don't know that costume technology will be good enough for you to play Batman.
What? What are you? It's a nice big Batman. That's what you want.
I don't know that engineering has created a girdle strong enough.
Fuck you. No, I could play Penguin in the next one then. But
yeah, or Clayface when he can't hold his shape anymore.
I think Benny Boy does a good job. He's he's repping the hometown strong, and he's he's good. I think he did a good job, and he's
Very good. Thank you. Now, controversial inclusion in Batman v Superman. Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. There's some strong feelings out there, one way or the other, about his performance of Superman's archenemy.
I mean, I like him. He went to Harvard, obviously.
Did he actually, or are you just thinking of him playing Mark Zuckerberg?
Anyways, I think that's what it would like if there was like a Lex Luthor nowadays, like that's who he would be.
Right. You believe that to be a relatively true interpretation. Rather.
Oh, easy there, words. I thought you were the robot.
Listen,
oh my god, the robot's malfunctioning.
Listen, I misspoke. You distracted me by talking about thick Batman.
Oh yeah, you do love a. Did you like his hog? Could you see it through the suit?
Listen, we knew it was there. But you believe that to be a relatively true interpretation of a contemporaneous sort of business tycoon,
like nowadays, like a nowadays bad guy. If he was going to get to that point, he would be like like a tech guy.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree. There was a part of me initially that I think felt that maybe he would have perhaps been a better version of the Riddler, just in terms of his manic play and things like that. But that was possibly based more on.
Or is that the role that you've been trying to go for?
I know the joke you're trying to make there. I will not be swapping out the R in Riddler.
You don't want the D? No? I thought you loved the D.
If it's Ben Affleck.
Or the maybe change it to a K.
Any other thoughts about Batman v Superman?
No.
I'm just going to plow through here.
That's what you did with those.
My goodness gracious. Another thing we haven't mentioned about Batman v Superman, or sort of key ingredient, is the inclusion of Wonder Woman, the first cinematic Wonder Woman.
She's good.
Gal Gadot is in this movie.
Yeah, Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot.
That gal sure got it. Fucking idiot.
Listen, you're not going to get an argument from me.
Pick a side. Jeez, choose a lane. No, I like her. She's really good. I think that she does a really good job. She's like she kicks more ass than I think a lot of the other characters. I mean, not so much in this one, but
she shows up when they're fighting Doomsday, of course, spoiled in the trailer, but she shows up when they're fighting Doomsday. She manages to deflect all of his energy blasts. She cuts off his hand. And, I am impressed by heroic feats of strength. You know, I'm something of a feat seeker. And I think she delivered.
Fucking loser.
What?
Yeah, I bet you like those sexy little tootsies.
You know that I mean feet, Feat.
Well, I don't know.
There's no Tarantino.
I don't know what you want to put in your mouth, but
Listen, let's move on. So from Batman v Superman, we moved on to the hastily produced, perhaps. I'm perhaps putting too much of my own opinion on there. I'm editorializing a little bit. Suicide Squad. Starring Will Smith, Margot Robbie, Viola Davis, Jared Leto, directed by David Ayer, and screenplay written by David Ayer as well. Now, Suicide Squad, I believe you had a pretty visceral reaction to that film.
yes, that movie sucks. That's what I think about that movie. That movie sucked. I have no time for that movie at all. I think that obviously Will Smith is great, but Margot Robbie was a fan of that.
Incredible casting. Very good. Both of them. Will Smith, of course, playing Deadshot,
Yes.
Floyd Lawton. Margot Robbie cast as Harley Quinn, the amorous sidekick to Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah, I think that the Joker. God, that's no Joker for me. That's
You were not a fan of that Joker.
No, that's not what the Joker is. That's like he looks like a SoundCloud rapper. That's not a.
He certainly blinged up in this movie, and he does drive that fancy Lamborghini in the car chase with Batman.
That's too flashy for Joker. Joker's not about like being flashy. He's a trick guy. He's not.
Right, you were a fan of the of course iconic Heath Ledger Joker.
Yeah.
You also appreciated the Jack Nicholson Joker.
I mean, in hindsight, I think not as much, but I think like the first time I really liked it. I think,
And I hesitate to bring it up, but what did you think of Joaquin's?
he did a really good job. I think that movie. The movie had some issues, but I think that he did a good job.
If you could sub out a Joker from any other movie to be in Suicide Squad, who would you sub?
I think Heath Ledger's Joker would work well in this one.
You think he would still fit in there?
Yeah, I think he would totally work fine. I think even with that Harley Quinn, he would totally work fine.
Right.
I think.
Now, about the movie in general, it's very confusingly plotted. We're jumping back and forth through a period of 3 to 5 days at various points through this movie.
Yeah.
It also seems to abandon the principal characteristic of the Suicide Squad, which is sending them in on their own so you could throw them under the bus if the mission goes sideways, because they're accompanied by the army the entire time.
Yeah.
Thoughts on what went wrong in Suicide Squad?
I feel like that. It felt like it felt like they took all 3 Lord of the Rings movie and made it into 1 hour and a half movie, where it's them walking in like one direction for like an hour and a half, and then they get to the place and then they go back.
Right, and there's an extended sequence establishing that Boromir and Sauron have been falling in love slowly over time.
Yeah, that's we can say that is.
I suppose Boromir's
Boomerang
the one that does.
and
Perhaps
Viola Davis.
Boromir would be our El Diablo.
Oh, so who did he fall in love with?
Well, I guess I suppose the analogy falls apart a little bit. I was referencing, of course, Rick Flag and the Enchantress, but
Oh, yeah. See, there you go. It's basically the same. Who's Samwise? Is that Will Smith?
Oh, I think right. If we're casting our Suicide Squad in their Lord of the Rings positions, I think Samwise has to be Deadshot. He's Will Smith. Frodo is our Rick Flag, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, one of either Merry or Pippin is
Harley Quinn, yeah.
I suspect that Captain Boomerang is he's probably Gimli. I think he's just the one that gets tossed around.
Yeah. Yeah, a bit. I mean, he can climb anything, so.
Oh, well, yes, of course. How could we forget Slipknot, the man who could climb anything?
Yeah.
Do you know what I have to say?
Which is the elf, obviously.
Acknowledging all of this movie's issues, this is maybe the most rewatchable of the DCEU movies.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter when you put it on because none of it makes sense anyway.
It feels comfortable, like a warm blanket,
like a weighted blanket,
like a weighted blanket, exactly.
where it smothers you until you are comfortable.
It feels comfortable like depression.
Yeah, where it just wraps you like a warm blanket that you can't get out of.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, well, at least it's just a Suicide Squad we're talking about.
At least all I have to do is just close my eyes and fall asleep.
Right. So not a huge fan. Not a huge fan of the
No,
Suicide Squad.
I will never rewatch that movie ever again. I started rewatching Harley Quinn though because it popped up online a couple days ago.
Oh, the new TV show.
No, the movie.
Oh, Birds of Prey, of course, released digitally, and an incredible movie that that we will get to. Do you want to talk about it now? We can go out of order.
Sure, yeah.
We can go out of order. I mean, I prepared. I was just putting it chronologically, just for.
I just don't want to
for ease of use, but we can put Birds of Prey out of order if you want to talk
there's
about
smoke
that
coming out of your ears. I think you're starting to bleed.
Well, let's get right into it. Birds of Prey is a 2020 entry in the DCEU, starring Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Journey Smollett-Bell as Black Canary, Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress, Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, directed by Kathy Ann, and screenplay by Christina Hodson.
Good thing you said that because there's no way they'd know otherwise.
Listen, we paint with words.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm glad that we're painting on an audio medium.
With words. It's audio.
Yeah, so they can see the...
Let's talk about the movie. Maybe it makes sense to follow Suicide Squad with this one because they're so diametrically opposite. But another installment including Harley Quinn. Now, what do we think about this movie?
This movie is great. This movie, I could watch this movie. This is a rewatchable movie. This movie is great. There's a lot of really good segments to it, but it's easy to follow.
What's your top 3 high points of this movie?
Oh, I really like the part where everybody's coming after her. And she's running around and
the sort of Rube Goldberg machine of mayhem in the streets of Gotham.
Yeah, that part's really good. I like the police station.
Right, where she enters with the colorful sort of beanbag.
That whole scene is probably the best part of the whole movie. The fights, the guns.
That is an extended fight scene with a couple of segments because we also see the holding cell fight and then again the evidence lockup, a continuation of that fight as well. Some really, really great fight choreography in that movie.
And then the end inside the carnival.
Right, we get to see Amusement Mile, classic Gotham City haunt. Definitely haunted by the ghosts of the Joker and Harley's relationship.
It's scaring me.
Oh yes, of course. Famously, the Kaboom Man, afraid of the Joker.
Well, yeah, and then ghosts too, and it's just. I mean, you're talking about devils, demons, and
we had to hide all of the Scooby Doo DVDs when you come over. Yeah,
that's. You're gonna make me have to call my mom.
I will say I loved in this movie both Black Canary and Huntress. I thought they were incredibly well cast. There's a very fun running joke for the Huntress, wherein she wants people to call her the Huntress, and she works on her catchphrase, but she is routinely referred to by police and rival gangs and criminals as the Crossbow Killer.
Yes, yeah, that was a good part of the movie. I like that. That was funny. No, this movie is good. This is this has got like it's funny, but also got really good, well filmed action for the first time in a while.
Very well done. Great costuming.
Best action I've ever seen in a DC movie.
Yeah. Across the board, excellent entry. Very, very, very strong entry. Let's back up a little bit and go to the first female-led entry of the DCEU. Let's go back to Wonder Woman, starring Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Robin Wright, Danny Huston, directed by Patty Jenkins, screenplay by Alan Heinberg. Wonder Woman, I think... Patty Jenkins.
It's like the fucking... the internet, the meme.
Oh, like the one meme. Everyone, go look up the meme.
Well, like
make sure that you understand.
They know what I'm talking about. The Leroy Jenkins, but with Patty.
Yes, of course. I also know what you're talking about.
Whatever, it's fucking stupid. Move on.
Right. Well, for many people, I think if we're going by sort of general popular consensus, many people I think view this to be sort of the first sort of bright spot or a sign of improvement in the DCEU, both in terms of tone, in terms of casting, in terms of general competency of screenwriting. Now, we've watched this one a couple of times. This is one that you and I like to share together. What do you think?
Say it like that.
Well, we like to share this movie together.
We're
two friends. We like to watch a movie together, and this is one that we enjoy.
Do you even like me?
I just want people... Of course I like you.
I don't really like you.
Come on, buddy.
I don't really even like you.
What? Well, I mean, this is obviously a... Well, it would be an overstatement to say it's a devastating blow. Frankly, it's par for the course.
Why we even do this podcast? We should just end it right now.
I mean, listen, every week we are inching closer and closer to that. I'm sure.
I'm sure every week you're inching closer to the edge.
I've been edging for weeks.
Oh God. Talking about Cavill's hog. I think we watched it together. I'll say that in the shadow of Birds of Prey, it's less good than I thought it was before.
So it's soured. Do you?
I wouldn't say it's...
consider it to be a worse movie, or just that Birds of Prey has just eclipsed it in terms of just being better?
Yeah,
do you look unfavorably on Wonder Woman now, or do you just acknowledge that Birds of Prey, in your esteem, is better?
I think that if it soured it, it was very lightly. I think it's just eclipsed it, but I think that a lot of the things that people were saying about its strength within feminism and a lot of this other stuff, I think that Birds of Prey did it a lot more times over. I think that people saying that portraying strong women and things like that, I think they were still unrealistic visions of women, which, I mean, it's a superhero, so I would think so. But
yes, there's always a certain degree of a lack of verisimilitude because we are talking about superheroes.
Yeah, I think that Harley Quinn showed to be sort of still with a lot of power and stuff, but it was still grounded and human, and showed her having flaws while still while saving the day.
Right. I mean, I think there are still bright spots to be acknowledged about Wonder Woman, even acknowledging that Birds of Prey probably improved upon the model. For example, the chemistry between Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman and Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, I think is
why did they even have him in there? He doesn't need to be there. Just have it just be about her. Why did it have to also throw in a hunky dude?
Because she's learning about man's world, and he's a representative of all of the gray morality that comes along with that.
Wow, jeez.
He's a spy. He uses deceit in his line of work, but for the greater good. And her only her tool that she brings with her is a lasso of truth. This is about Wonder Woman learning about the reality, the grim reality of our world, and still rising above it.
What's the tool that you bring with you?
I mean,
it's a pretty big one, right?
It's the God Killer. And of course the No Man's Land scene, Wonder Woman revealing her superhero costume and wandering out into No Man's Land. Of course, this movie takes place during the First World War. We're in the final
You remember
days
that, right?
I have not been alive since 1918.
No, it's much earlier than that.
No. Of course, my ancestors were French.
Let's not talk about my ancestors.
But that No Man's Land sequence, very inspiring, very, very powerful moment, I would say, of the movie, and delivered well in terms of action and score and visual effects.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, thank you for that. Let's keep moving on. Well, actually, I just want to talk about one more thing. There's a twist at the end of Wonder Woman, wherein the who you supposed to be the villain, Danny Houston, as a German general, is revealed not to have actually been the villain.
I am a very common German general.
Yes, skillfully done.
Yeah.
What did you think about the twist wherein Professor Lupin was Ares the whole time? Of course, he's not playing Professor Lupin, but the same actor whose name escapes me at the moment.
Just happened to also turn into a werewolf. I mean, that was all right. I think that a
lot of people did not appreciate. This was maybe the second biggest mustache-related fiasco in the DCEU.
Why was it mustache related?
Because when he assumes his Ares form, you can see he still has a mustache underneath his large horned helmet, and I think people found that amusing.
Yeah, I think it's fine if he had a mustache before. I mean, it makes sense. I think I don't know. It was fine. I mean, it was all about her having like preconceived notions, right? And then suddenly. The thing that she thought wasn't right at all, and the way that she's like seeing humans is not the way that she assumed they would be, because the person she thought was bad, it's not always as black and white as that.
Yeah, it's a tough moment for her. She's learning that she can't just blame the gods for the failings of man.
Yeah, exactly.
They're weird to blame. We all make our own choices.
Terrible choices.
Terrible choices.
Like this podcast.
Speaking of terrible choices, let's move on to the hack and slashed Justice League movie, also from 2017, starring Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, Ray Fisher, directed by Zack Snyder, officially, screenplay by Chris Terrio, and of course, Joss Whedon, who also took over directing duties following Snyder's departure of the project. This film was obviously largely reshot, largely recut. We've seen little snippets and images and things released from what the film may have been, but let's talk about what the film is.
Close to your internet searches, the Just Piss League.
Listen, it's gotten to the point where I have to disable the autocomplete. Lest someone find out what I've been searching.
Yeah, FBI, CIA.
Let's start with the obvious elephant on the upper lip. Henry Cavill's mustache having to be CGI'd out from the reshot sequences because he was engaged in filming for Mission Impossible Fallout. This is particularly
that's
bad.
A good movie.
It's an outstanding movie. Great film. I would certainly recommend it over this one.
Yeah, it's when I first watched the movie, it was like low quality, and I didn't really notice it.
Right, you could maybe attribute it to a poor screening of the film.
Yeah, sure,
low resolution.
Yeah, and then I watched it in like HD later, and I couldn't watch it because it was terrible.
It's pretty bad.
It's really noticeable, and like more noticeable than when they like de-age like Princess Leia in the new Star Wars movie.
Yeah, that's, I think, handled with a bit more tact than this was. I mean, obviously there were issues with production and post-production on this film. Timelines were bumped, and I imagine there just was not enough time or money to accomplish the Leviathan feat of essentially remaking a movie that was already completed.
Yeah, are you talking about Star Wars again, or?
No, I mean my feelings about Rise of Skywalker are well known, I think. But I still
just
would
my
say
week at Bernie's that they did with Carrie Fisher.
Rise of Skywalker is a sloppily made film, but it's the way they intended to make it that sloppily. Justice League is sloppily made because there are too many cooks in the kitchen, and definitely some studio interference happening there. If you had to pick one or two bright spots though in Justice League, what would you select? I'll say mine right out the gate. I appreciated the flashback sequence where we see the Atlanteans, and that was very, very good. I'm proud of you. Atlanteans and Amazons and men of old, along with Green Lantern Yalan Gur and the Olympian gods like Zeus and Ares. We see them fighting the initial invasion of Steppenwolf and the forces of Apocalypse.
Sure. Yeah,
I liked it. I thought it was reminiscent of battle sequences from high fantasy, Lord of the Rings included, since we brought it up earlier.
How did you ever get married? I'm gonna one of these days I'm gonna kick your ass.
Listen, my beautiful wife loves me and loves many things about me, but
Just happened to not
the reason
include
we have
my
this podcast
penis,
is
or
because I only get to talk about it here.
yeah, and not allowed to speak. Period at home.
I mean, I have very, very little to contribute to the conversation if it's not related to comic books.
I think, I liked the Ezra Miller as Flash.
The Flash, Ezra Miller as Barry Allen.
Yeah, I think that was like that was a nice interpretation, I think, of like what the Flash probably would be like if you had somebody who was like a CSI person.
He's very likable.
He's likable, but also a little bit like nerdy.
And he's into K-pop. When we see his little bass where he's squatting, one of the screens.
Yeah,
I believe we see Blackpink on the screen.
Is that a band?
It's a K-pop group.
Yeah.
I figured you would be up on your K-pop. It seems like something you would search for late at night.
I mean, the K part, sure, but
are you looking for Special K? You buying ketamine late at night?
Is that what that Special K is? I thought it was heroin.
Why would... Is the K silent and heroin?
You're not any heroin.
Oh no, I think you're getting that discount stuff.
Yeah, it's heroin. I got it from that guy who was selling me the Folex. No, I think Ezra Miller was really good. Obviously, Jason Momoa
as Aquaman. It's our first real taste. He, of course, that scene, of course, from the trailer, him drinking on the pier. He, of course, appeared
littering into the ocean.
It's his ocean. I trust him to do what's right.
I guess it's sand to turn into glass, so it's just putting it back.
Exactly. It's all recycled.
Yeah.
He appeared in cameo form in Batman v Superman, but this was our first full appearance of Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
Yeah, full frontal Aquaman.
I see. Release the frontal cut.
Yeah, that's
hashtag release the frontal cut.
The part where his front of his pants were cut.
Yeah, we want to see his trident.
Yeah. I want to see his South Pole.
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid.
I want to see him unleash the wrath of the seven seas.
He's unleashed the whatever the thing's called.
Wow, the Kraken.
That's the thing. Yeah,
the Kraken.
No, what's the one
mythical squid creature?
What's the mythical squid creature from Aquaman the movie?
Well, that's the Karathan, voiced by Julie Andrews.
Why not just call it Kraken?
The giant. Well, it's not strictly speaking a Kraken. It's not only a squid. It has squid tentacles, but it also has crab claws. It's part crustacean and part sort of squid octopus.
Squid people.
Let's just finish up on Justice League, though. In general, enjoyed or didn't enjoy? Because I think my initial The flavor it left in my mouth, I think, initially I enjoyed, and with time and retrospect, I like it less and less. But
I told you just to swallow it, not just hold it in your mouth for so long.
I mean, come on, this is a family podcast.
Whose family?
It's I mean, that's obviously a bald-faced lie.
The way that Manson had a family.
Come on now. I resent constantly being compared to serial killers who got caught.
Yeah, you're like the ones who are yet to be caught.
Thoughts on Justice League?
I think that there are fun scenes, but I have no interest in going back to watch it.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Often I find myself considering whether or not to watch it again, and I pick Suicide Squad instead.
I can't believe next to each other that's the one you choose.
If between those two, absolutely.
I would 100% go Justice League before I go Suicide Squad.
Listen, I'm not saying it's the one I would pick above all others, but also out of those two, I would pick Suicide Squad.
But also out of those two, the only one of them has Aquaman.
Yes, but I can get my Aquaman fix from our next installment here from 2018, Aquaman, his own solo movie starring Jason Momoa as Aquaman, Amber Heard as Mira, Patrick Wilson as Orm, and Willem Dafoe as Vulko, directed by James Wan, screenplay by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick and Will Beall.
Do you still go back and watch Suicide Squad when this movie exists?
Aquaman?
Yeah.
I watched both. I've actually watched both in the last 3 days as part of my quarantine entertainment.
What? There's so much new stuff that you could be watching.
Yeah, but that's new stuff. I like my comfy old things.
Hey, that's your wife you're talking about.
That's probably what she says about me.
Oh, I mean, that's true, yeah. I mean, it's soft enough.
Come on now. Just because I had a vasectomy does not mean that my penis doesn't work.
I don't know. You prove it.
That didn't work beforehand.
Yeah. Then why cut it up?
Let's talk about this Aquaman movie. I consider this an exceptionally strong entry. Not as strong, I would say, as Birds of Prey, but very, very strong entry. It's a relatively long film. We're running about 2.5 hours on this movie. But we are introduced to all of the 7 kingdoms of Atlantis, a whole history of this other society. We get to see colorful creatures. We even get the comic accurate costume that we were denied in the Justice League movie.
Why is the last 2 times I've seen you, you've worn the same shirt? Is that the only one that fits you anymore?
No comment. No comment other than to say I have quarantine. We'll edit all this out.
Yeah, because you're gonna do that. I liked this movie a heck of a lot, except for one stupid fucking moment.
Of course, the moment in which a Pitbull song underscores a scene.
Hashtag put the dog down.
An excellent hashtag. Hashtag put the dog down, of course.
Yeah. I think that this movie was...
There are a couple of questionable soundtrack choices in this movie, but otherwise, I would say it's nearly without flaw.
I would say if you cut out that scene and the scene where they're when they just get to Italy...
you don't like that scene. It's a cute scene.
It feels like a Hallmark romance movie.
I think it's cute. They're getting to know each other.
It's so meet cute, bad romance.
Do you need to tell me that isn't how you met your dogs, Lucy and Earl? I like to imagine that you met them on a pleasant day in Sicily. That you
no, I met them the same way
that you watched them eating the roses and you fell in love.
I met them the same way that I usually meet women.
Oh, under the overpass?
No, I picked them up from a shelter.
Oh no. Oh dear. I'll mention that I think the costume design in Aquaman is especially strong. Like I said, we're getting comic accurate costumes, including not having desaturated colors from the orange scale mail shirt or orange purple and silver Ocean Master outfit.
I think there's moments of it that are a little Vaseline-y and some of it that are a little sparkly, but for the most part, I enjoy the colors. I just think there's moments where things are a little dreamy looking and a little too sort of everything's sparkly. It's a little Twilight-y for me sometimes.
It never gets that bad.
There are moments.
It's not that. It
Especially
never gets like that.
When he comes out of the when he gets the trident in the suit. Yeah. It's pretty sparkly.
It's shiny. It's metallic.
No, it's sparkly.
It's not sparkly.
Yeah, he's a reverse vampire.
He's a reverse vampire.
Yeah.
He lets them suck him.
That's right.
Oh my god. This is finally my time.
Gonna finally get a mouth of that seawater. Surprisingly salty.
Listen, I want a shot at my man.
The Aquaman man.
Aquaman man. I love this movie. This is a movie I've rewatched a bunch since it came out. I think it's a lot of fun. Jason Momoa is not necessarily always the strongest actor, but he certainly delivers the charisma during the action sequences and the sort of big broad battle sequences, which I think is what you want from a superhero who is also the king of Atlantis and leading an army. So I think he's well cast that way. Certainly, the movie dips a little when we're relying on the chemistry between him and Amber Heard, but other than that, I would consider this a very, very strong entry.
Well, it's going to be concerning for the next movie because she'll definitely be in it.
Well, listen. Far be it for either of us to weigh in on the who said / who hit whom of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, but that's certainly a mess, and we'll see what effect it has on casting or the production for Aquaman 2.
I hope as long as the next movie doesn't involve a lot of like dialogue, I think that Jason Momoa will do just fine. As long as it's not My Dinner with Aquaman, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, I think as long as we steer away from a Tuesdays with Maury style Aquaman movie.
Tuesdays with Momoa.
Tuesdays with Momoa.
I think we'll be in a wonderful spot.
Exactly. Well, we've got one more entry here. We did go out of order because you wanted to put something earlier than I had.
Now you had to bring it back up.
I'm not. It's not a bad thing.
You just had to bring it. I just wanted to make sure that we said it.
People are going to be listening, and in general, we've gone chronologically. I don't want people.
And because I fucked it up, that
you didn't
now
fuck it up. I wasn't blaming you.
No. Why don't we just re-record this thing? Just fucking end this stupid podcast.
Listen, we could re-record this, but you would also be 45 minutes late for that.
Even though I'm already here?
That didn't stop the first time.
Jesus Christ.
So,
whatever.
Here we go. The final entry that we have here is Shazam.
I was on time like 2 weeks ago. I think that should be fine.
Oh, great. Well, that should carry forward for the rest of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Shazam from early 2019, starring Zachary Levi, Asher Angel, Mark Strong, Jack Dylan Grazer, directed by David F. Sandberg with a screenplay by Henry Gayden. Now, this one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is one of your favorites.
Shazam, yeah.
I mean, you know, it makes me uncomfortable when you say it like that.
You don't like this.
You've had a muscle shasm.
I don't like when my mom catches me and when I come home because
well, no
shazam all over
no peeking.
Yeah, that's right. Whatever. I always get caught with a little bit of shazam on my shirt afterwards.
Yeah.
No, I like.
Just a quick reminder to everyone: you can get mutual or shazam shirts in our merch store.
Mutual Orm Shazam.
Orm Shazam. Well, I mean, we're combining a lot of things at this point.
I mean, that's how we got there. This movie's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's not too serious. It knows what it is.
It's a good movie for a family, barring a couple of what I would consider to be relatively frightening sequences.
I'm surprised they let you in the theater to watch this, though.
Well, I mean, you're the one famously afraid of ghosts and demons. What did you think of our adversaries beyond Mark Strong as Dr. Savannah? We have the 7 deadly sins. I mean, obviously, we know which sins are yours.
I mean, clearly the law's already stated which ones are yours.
Yeah. Well, when we went to the cinema, both sloth and gluttony just looked dead into the barrel of the camera at you. Yours were dealt with by a camera crew when we got outside, but when somebody jumped out from the bushes and were like, "Aha!" Yeah, Chris Hansen was present at our screening.
Yeah. That part was spooky with the demons.
Of course.
The sins were...
There's a scary moment.
Yeah, when they kill all the people.
Poor lady gets her head bitten clean off.
Yeah, that wouldn't have felt good. That would have been bad.
No, understatement, I would say.
Yeah, just like a bite of popcorn and just
Sorry, a bite of what?
Popcorn.
Sorry, one more time.
Popcorn?
Oh, okay. Popcorn, I believe, is what we're.
That's what I said.
You said popcorn.
I don't hear.
You're obsessed with your dogs, Lucy and Earl. Of course, we all know this, but it is popcorn.
That's what I said. Popcorn.
Okay. Well, anyway, I think both Zachary Levi as Shazam and Asher Angel as the young Billy Batson, who becomes Shazam when he says the magic word, both exceedingly well cast. Very, very good chemistry, and chemistry with each other, I would say, even though they don't share any screen time.
Yeah, I think that they do a pretty good job with that. I think the relationship between Zachary Levi and the kid version of him, it seems like it's understandable to make that sort of the who he turns into.
I think it would be very easy to fall into the Looper trap, where you cast two people who are individually good in their roles, but are nothing like each other, even though they're meant to be the same character.
Yeah,
and this movie seems to avoid that.
Yeah, no, they do a good job. I think with that casting, that kid's really, really good actor. I really like the cripple kid,
Freddie Freeman. That's the character's name, of course, played by Jack Dylan Grazer, who you would know from the It movies.
That's right.
He plays Freddie Freeman, who later becomes Shazam Jr. Spoiler alert! Near the end of the film.
That casting was genius. The Seth Green or whatever.
Oh no, not Seth Green of Robot Chicken fame and Austin Powers fame.
We're talking Adam.
His name was Seth on the OC.
Yeah,
we're talking about Adam Brody.
Yeah.
We're confusing his character's name from the OC with his real name there. But yes, there was some great casting of the adult versions of all of the foster children in this movie.
Those were great.
In general,
really
good action.
Great action.
What do we think of Mark Strong as Dr. Savannah?
I think that was really great casting. I always like him. He plays a villain really, really well. But he also plays a good guy really well. I liked him in the that other comic book movie.
Kingsman.
Kingsman, yeah, he does a really good job there.
He is good in that one. I will say, it's a slight departure from the comics in terms of the comic book. Dr. Savannah tends to be a little bit more scientific, a little less magic based. We're leaning a little bit on the New 52. We're leaning entirely on the New 52 era of comics to inform
do you think
both the character of Shazam and Dr. Savannah. But I still thought that he was an interesting villain. I liked how he played with the Seven Deadly Sins.
Do you think it would be confusing if we did any other version of Shazam?
Well, you're of course referring to the confusion resulting from his original name, Captain Marvel. Yes, I do believe that would be confusing.
Yeah.
Not to mention legal minefield. So we've talked about all of the films in this series thus far. I mean, there's obviously a lot going on here, but why don't we just take a moment here? Let's give our final thoughts, and we'll give it a cape rating out of 5. Kaboom Man, Richard, what are your final thoughts on the DCEU?
I think that obviously it's hard to not compare it to Marvel when Marvel sort of came first and kicked off sort of what I think like superhero movies are like now.
Of course, near ubiquitous now.
Yeah. God, I'm gonna fucking put your head in a toilet.
As long as you don't put my tender heart in a blender.
Jesus.
I don't know why I thought of that lyric, but that's in there.
It's because you're a psychopath. So I think in comparison, I think it's got a lot more lows than Marvel's movies do, especially considering like how many of them there are. But I think when DC hits, it hits really hard. Like I'm going to do to you after this recording.
I mean, the threats of physical violence, I don't know, are necessary in the review portion of the show.
Yeah, but they helped me get through it. I think that that you can see DC figuring it out, and when they're their strongest, they're trying to they're not trying to replicate success. I think when they tried to redo the Nolan movies, it didn't work. When they tried to be like Marvel, it didn't work. I find when they just are working with good stories and good directors and not trying to follow the chain of success, they do their best work. So I think that saying that it's important that that if I'm reviewing these as a whole and not just based on their successes, I think I have to give it 3.5 capes.
3.5 capes. 3 capes and an original. Excuse me. 3 capes
like
and an
me.
original Captain Marvel half cape. 3.5 capes in there. I think you're right in terms of the breadth and depth of some of the failures of the DCEU, but it's hard to deny the fact that the general trajectory seems to be upward. The strongest entrants are generally the most recent, and I do feel like they've began charting a path that is their own. They're they're stepping out from Marvel's shadow. They're also stepping out from the shadow, of course, of the Christopher Nolan movies, as mentioned up at the top of the show.
Yeah.
If I had to give an overall rating, including all of those highs and lows, and of course, keeping in mind, I would say, in general, I think I'm more forgiving of some of the lows than some other people are, Justice League accepted. I think I'm going to give this one 4 capes.
Wow.
So not quite enough to get it into the Golden Cape Club, but we got a 3.5 and a 4 capes. That's pretty good for the DCEU. And of course, as things continue and we revisit this, it's possible at a later date to enter the Golden or Platinum Cape Club. I think it's time now. It's that time. We've got some toys or action figures. We're going to have a look at them and tell you whether or not we think they're cool. It's Hero or Zero.
You just love that part, don't you?
What?
The Hero or Zero.
Hero or Zero. It's a nice little turn of phrase.
Yeah, you love it though.
So what I have here today are 3 of the DC Justice League Hot Wheels cars that were part of the branded tie-in merchandise for the Justice League movie. We've got a Justice League car. We have a Cyborg car called Quick and Sick. And we have an Aquaman car called the Boulevard Bruiser. So let's just have a look at those.
You know, like Aquaman, he's mean in the seas and stronger in the streets. Fucking stupid.
I don't disagree.
I came up with that Hero or Zero thing.
Do you need the praise? Yes, you came up with Hero or Zero. You are a good contributor to the podcast.
If it's something you liked on the podcast, I came up with it.
I mean, come on now. So what do we think of these 3 cars? These are your sort of standard.
Is this
Hot
an underwater car? Is that the idea?
No, I believe they're just meant to be cars sort of incorporating the design or possibly some functionality of the Hero, but
so it's working
certainly not. It's not an amphibious vehicle.
So it's taking the most successful part of Aquaman, the strongest part of him, his ability to drive, and making sure that everybody knows about that.
Again, I think these are more of a design tie-in than necessarily something the hero themselves would use. I think this is maybe more of a thought exercise of interpreting these superheroes as automobiles.
Yeah, but like some kid's gonna get this and be like, "Oh, I got Aquaman's car."
Oh, excuse me.
Can I talk about kid and you get all choked up?
I will say you're taking your time looking at all of these cars without spending much time describing them at all. And I will remind you this is an audio medium. I'll just jump in and mention that the Aquaman car has a teal top. It's a two-tone sort of design. Teal top. It's obviously got the engine block poking out of the hood. We souped up this car. It's a gold on the bottom and green on the top. So we've inverted the Aquaman colors. Otherwise,
Quick and Sick. That's what this thing is called.
The Cyborg one, yes, is called Quick and Sick. The Cyborg one, largely metallic, nothing particularly special about that one.
In an age like that, like now, it's definitely getting sick pretty quick. People are.
Wow. Some topical coronavirus humor. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think the most bewildering of these is the General Justice League one, the yellow car that just has a bunch of like symbols and shapes cut out of the top.
Is this 6/7? Is it like the age range they usually go for?
Come on now. That means it's number 6 of 7 types
of bodies that you're having.
No. Come on now.
I like the Justice League car because, there's anything that I think about when I think of the Justice League, I think of bright yellow, bright pink, and some random holes on the top.
Yeah, the Justice League car is not doing much in the way of design or functionality to sort of evoke the bringing together of some of the Earth's greatest heroes.
But don't worry, the name definitely does. Baseline.
Oh, yes, of course. The name of the car is Baseline, which is
A reference to
slightly deflating sort of name. I will say the thing I didn't mention about the Cyborg car is that it does have a red tinted moonroof to sort of evoke the red glow and the red eyepiece of Cyborg himself.
So do you think that they designed the cars and came up with their names, and then someone was like, "Shit, we got this DC contract, and we need to make some of these cars. Just slap some of these stickers on these."
I feel like that's entirely possible. This feels like it was probably slapped together last minute at a time when possibly the details of the film were still unknown as they were recutting and reshooting and altering things. If we had to rank these, you could do it individually or as a group. What are we calling these Hot Wheels toys? Are we calling these heroes or zeros?
I'm gonna have to go with zeros. These do not sort of line up to be movie accurate in any shape, except for maybe I would cut out the car and just keep the cool graphic of Jason Momoa.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would say that these cars, though not necessarily poor figurines in their own right, they do have very little to do with the film, very little to do with the branding, and I think for that I'm also going to call these zeros.
I think that this Jason Momoa is also blind because it looks like you can't see his corneas at all.
Oh, well, of course, the backing cardboard for these is not using actual photos of the actors. They are like artistically rendered versions of the production photos.
If I didn't see the trident, I would have assumed that was one of those like sticks.
Well, that was Hero or Zero. Just remember, if you enjoyed what you heard here today, check us out online and hit us up. You can send your drops to roast Kaboom Man at gmail.com. We had a good time here. I think we're making the best of this quarantine.
Relative to what?
Dying.
Oh, I'm gonna put dying ahead of this.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's it for Hero Boys. For the Kaboom Man, Richard Eden, I'm Reid Vanier. Happy reading.
See ya.
All the superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure.